All right. So last week I talked about how you can have some fun with the feature layer, apply edits, create a client-side feature layer that pretty much can copy the not the features, but it copies what the source feature layer looks like, and you can do your edits there. So you kind of have a mirror of a feature layer by applying edits to it, and you can have some fun with that and stuff, right? It's a cool trick, but I thought after thinking about it a little bit, I thought I'd make it a little bit more useful, right? So one thing you can do is kind of DIY your own edit session with the JavaScript API. So the JavaScript API comes with an editor widget, which is really cool. It lets you pretty much use it against any layer that supports editing. And you can just drop it right in your application and you start editing right off the bat. But one thing that maybe you want for your workflow is you want to create edit sessions where basically you start doing edits, you let the users edit data client side, and then when they're done editing, push those edits to the service. So the editor widget's just going to do it automatically. It's going to send a request, going to do an edit and updates and everything else. Edit sessions are tricky, right? There's a reason that you don't normally do them, because if you got multiple people doing update edits on the same data, you got conflicts when they push that, right? Or not necessarily conflicts, but one person's edits are going to overwrite someone else's edits. They may have done at the same time, right? Depending who pushes the stop editing button first. So there needs to be some sort of conflict resolution when you do that, and you might be able to handle that via like a server object extension or something like that on the server side. But in an application, based client's application, it's kind of tricky to do. You'd have to do something where you fetch the features from the service before you apply your edits, and you go, oh, this data was edited. Maybe you need to resolve a conflict. That can be really cumbersome, right? I'm not going to do that. Right? I'm just telling you what you could do. If you need help doing that, I could probably walk you through it. I've done stuff like that. It's hard, man. It's not easy. But for a quick and dirty kind of something you can test with, this is kind of how you can do some DIY edits using the editor widget out of the box, and you kind of can manage when the edits get applied. We're going to take the sample we did last week. Let me go and fork the sample in CodePen. I'm going to rename it to edit session fun. Right, there we go. So first thing I need to do is I need to bring in the editor widget. So let me do that over here. Next thing I need to do is I need another button in here. I need to do some stuff. So I'll change this from toggle to start editing. I need another button. I'll call this edit. And we're going to go ahead and say that this is going to be apply edits. Let me get some CSS in here for this. I'll have a class editing. I'll make the background red, color white. That sounds good. I'm going to make a class to hide something, because I'm going to be hiding a button when I don't need it. So, okay. And okay, so now let's go here and do this. So I'm going to get my edit button as well. This is just a lot of setup I'm doing right now. This is, I could have done this before I started the stream, but I just want you to see me get this stuff done from scratch, right? What's cool here that I can show you too is that the UI, the view UI add that you use to add elements to the page, actually you can take an array, and the order I pass elements to the array is the order it's going to add it to the layout that you see over here, right? So it added my first button here and second button here. Let me just have some fun here. If I do this, let's get rid of this. And you see that adds my edits before my editing button. So you get the idea, right? Just wanted to show that. That's kind of cool. That we have to do 2 lines here. So, okay, let me make my edit widget, right? So there is a sample in here. Editor widget with configurations, right? So when you by default, when I create editor widget, I could just go ahead and say something like this. Let's come down here. Let's go ahead and do it in here. Yeah, after I create this layer, I can just say const editor equals new editor. And I can just pass it the view. That's all I gotta do. And at this point, I can just say view.ui.add. We'll add it, the editor, to the, top right. Okay. So it's going to add it over there, and it's going to go ahead and work against both my layers, but I don't want that, right? So give me a second to fix that up. On my toggle button here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that if my client layer is visible, all right, this means that I am editing. So what I want to do is I want to set the inner HTML to stop editing because I'm currently editing. And if not, I want to set this to say what it said before, start editing. Okay, this is some basic stuff. I also have let's see here. Oh, I want to apply a class to it, right? I made those classes for stuff. So the class list dot. Actually, I don't need to put that up there. I can do this down here because I'm just going to toggle it all up. So toggle dot class list dot toggle the edit class. Boom, like that. All right, and then I want to let's do this here. Let's take this out of here like so. If I'm editing, I want to add it, and if I'm not editing, I'm going to want to remove it. And I can go ahead and get rid of this text here. Don't need that. Go ahead. That there. Okay, so what else do I want to do? So if I add the editor widget, I want to remove. Let's do this. We're going to do the edit button. Edit toggle class list, or class list toggle the hide style. Okay, so let me just see if this is going to work the way I expect it to. So start editing, stop editing. That did it. Apply it. I want to apply that class by default. Actually, I don't think I need to toggle that. Class is going to be equal to, no, wait. No, that's right. What am I doing wrong here? What's the CSS name? Editing, not edit. I think I was calling it edit. Class list. Right here we go. Editing. All right. So what should happen is I click it. It's red. It means I'm currently editing. So I want to stop editing, and I'm showing the editor widget. But I want to limit this to only my client layer. So I'm going to pass in my view. Actually, I think this is going to work. This is going to work. Because what I was going to say is what I would normally want to do is I want a layer infos in here. And this is where you can get some configuration of the editor widget. So if we come over the editor widget over here, let's come back to the documentation for it. Let's go to properties. It's got this property called layer infos. And this is where you kind of configure what you want the capabilities of the editor to be, right? So the layer infos takes a view, it takes the layer you're going to work on, what you're going to enable or what you're not. So I'm not going to have delete, and maybe I can get rid of update enabled. Let's try that. So I am going to do this. So, okay, so layer infos view. My layer is going to be my client layer. And we're going to have add, oh my gosh, enable true, update, enabled false. All right. Yes. I don't need the field config. If I wanted to, I could just have this set up to only edit certain fields and get kind of funky there. Maybe there are going to be some fields you don't want the user to edit because when they go to the service and you use apply edits on the server side, there might be some triggers or something that are going to fill out some fields. I've seen stuff like that. So it just depends on how you want to configure it. Like I said, the editor widget is really configurable. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it. We're barely scratching the surface here of how you can tweak the editor widget to do stuff. So, okay, so now we've got our editor widget. We got our layer infos in here. Let's see if this works. Let me go ahead and start editing, right? So now I can't update. I've disabled the ability to update a feature. And that's because, like I talked about earlier, if I want to manage adds, updates, and deletes, I need to manage client side which features are going to be added, which are going to be updated, and which will be deleted, meaning that I have to also track the original object IDs somehow, because the object IDs get rewritten when they get passed to a new feature layer. Object IDs are arbitrary, right? The feature layers can control them unless they're coming directly from a service. You have no control over that, how they get applied. So I need to manage the source object IDs into a little buckets of these are going to be added, these are going to be updated, these can be deleted. I can do that with the new field in the client layer and then just not pass that field back to the service. So I'd have like a source object ID field, just kind of track there. Maybe a status field, like a edit status, like this is going to be an update, this could be an add, this could be a delete. And then when I do my apply edits, I got to filter all those out and parse out my buckets and then pass them to the apply edits function, right? Like I said, it can be done. It's just not necessarily, super easy to do. But in the grand scheme of things, this is not that difficult to do. You just saw I added a couple of buttons. I've added an editor widget. I added some if-else logic. I mean, you could if-else and for loop yourself into just about anything, right? The most complicated applications in the world are built on if-else or a for loop. Come on, it's not that difficult. So now I'm going to do is I'm going to add a feature here. Incident type, I don't know. Screaming. The screaming in my head. Oh, it's a 1, so it's a number. All right, let's forget about screaming in my head. Here we go. Screaming. Incident location. Null island. Report date. Not my problem. Reported by. Odo. User contact. Odo. Status. In progress. Add that. There we go. So I'm going to add another one over here. And incident is going to be, I don't know what these domain values are supposed to be. Description, troubling. All right. Location. Looks like we're in Redlands over here somewhere. I don't care about dates. I could put a date, but come on, people. You don't need me to put a date in here. User contact. No. Frank Castle. Big Punisher fan. Status. Resolved, because it's resolved, man. Bam, there we go. Okay, so now, when I push the stop edit button, all right, I remove the editor widget. Got my features in here. So right now, they're not visible, right? I start editing, they're visible. They're not visible, so I could probably handle that logic somehow. But I've ended my edit session. I might want to keep that layer on or something, or push those to a graphics layer. Maybe I need a third layer for in-progress edits. See how complicated these edit sessions could get if you really get into it and you want to handle all these different use cases. Like I said, there's reasons that things aren't just there by default, because there's like a dozen different ways that you could configure things depending on your workflow. Oh man, okay. So, all right. I'm so dumb. Okay, my bad. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. So I was doing the client layer. Now I need to apply the edits to my source layer. And I'm gonna go ahead and leave this here. So if client layer is visible, right? Let's go and do this. Now, let's make this async function. I wish somebody would have seen this because, yeah, I didn't do this part last week. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna say const features, all right, is gonna be equal to await. Let's do this. Client layer query features. So I want all the features. Okay. What's the problem here? Oh, what's complaining about? Oh, that's what's complaining about. Okay, okay. So now I've got my features. I'm basically going to do this here. I'm going to switch the logic around a little bit. I'm not deleting anything. I am going to do this on the source layer, which is just called the layer. All right, so let's do it on the layer down here. Okay, bam. So we're going to do it on the layer apply edits now. Right, remember, I'm in charge of the edit session. I'm in charge of when these edits get applied. All right, so actually I should do this on the edit buttons, add event listener. So let's go and do this. Let's do edit.add event listener. Click. Make this async. If I could do this right, learn how to type at some point. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's gonna work. There we go. This should do it. This should do it. I'm telling you. This is gonna do it right here. The reason I'm not worried about layer view or any of that nonsense here is because the client layer already has features. It's a client-side layer. There's no reason to go to the layer view. The data's already there. I don't care about the layer view for client-side data, not in this case. For a use case like this, I just don't care. So, okay, so I've got my edit, add event listener. All right, save that. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and start editing again. Add a feature, come over here. I don't know what these incident types are. Let's leave it as open. Okay, this is a snake attack, right? So I'm gonna stop editing, that disappears. I apply my edits, there it is. I had because it's the layer view is already drawn, I had to go back and grab the data. So there we go. My edits now, my layer is now in there. All right. So I wanted to expand on this example a little bit more because if you didn't notice, there's some stuff wrong here, right? So let me go over and tell you what is wrong and how we could kind of fix it. All right. Not 100% solution, but kind of fix it up. Okay. So when I do this edit here, right, I'm just going to go and grab the features, all the features from the edits that have been done to my client-side layer, and I'm just going to apply them to the source layer. Problem is, I'm duplicating the data because remember, I've copied all of these features to the client layer, which I've actually commented out over here, right? That's what this bit of code does here. I find all of the object IDs that are part of the source layer, I query them, and then I add them to my client-side layer. And then I'm going to edit the client-side layer. And then I apply the edits back to the source layer based on the client-side layer edits. So I'm just duplicating data here, not what you want to do. So how can we fix something like this? So really what I need, make a couple comments here. So I need a client-side layer that is just going to hold a static copy of the data. I need an edit layer where my edits are done. And then of course, we have the source layer. Oops, and yeah, R here. This is just my notes. where the edits are applied, right? So I really need 3 layers, not 2. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let's come over here. So see here, I'm creating this layer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this code here. I'm going to create a little function. I'll just make it right over here. Function, copy layer. It's going to take a source layer and it's going to return a layer. So let's do this. So now what I can do down here is I can say that my client layer is going to be equal to copy layer. Now pass it the source layer. All right, bam. So I'm going to say my edit layer is going to be equal to copy layer. Oops, I can spell copy layer, and of course pass it my source layer. Okay, awesome, awesome. So I want to add my layer here. I'm also going to go ahead and add the edit layer as well. I can do them both at the same time with add many, but yeah, just to save some time. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is that I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to have the client layer have a static copy of all of my edits that are being done. But what I'm going to do is when I create the editor, ooh, I should do this after. Okay, this is good. Okay, okay. We're actually going to make this the edit layer, not the client layer. So I'm trying to say that I want the source layer not to be editable. I don't want to edit the source layer. All right, that's what I'm trying to say here. So now what I'm going to do is instead of being the client layer, it's going to be the edit layer. Okay, so that's where my features are going to come from. Let's do this. So I'm trying to say that I don't want to edit the client layer, blah, 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 blah. If I can spell. I don't want that visible. Still going to give it titles. Okay, so I want the source layer to toggle off. I want the client layer to toggle on. I want to keep the edit layer visible at all times. Right? So, okay, so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start editing. I'm going to add a feature over here. Oops. Add feature down over here. It's incident type 3, whatever that is. It is a horrible accident. Because that's what this edit session thing is here. A horrible accident. And add-ons, I've got to kind of refresh there for it to work. And say stop editing. So my edit layer is still on. I want to go and apply my edits. Bam. And now my data has been edited. So now if I refresh this, there's our edit right there, right? So you see it's not exactly easy. Now what I probably want to do too is that after I've done my edit, so I've got my catch there, but let's go ahead and after that's been done, I'm going to go ahead and say that the edit layer visible, we're going to go and turn that off at this point. Once the edits themselves are done. All right, bam, like so. It's pretty straightforward after that. It's not, I said, this isn't exactly the kind of thing that I suggest you do. I'm just saying you can do some pretty cool stuff with these kinds of things, right? So it's going to remove this at that point. So now that I've applied my edits here, now what I probably want to do is I want to go ahead and do something like this. So say, yeah, let's do this. OIDs is going to be equal to features.map, and let's grab the feature and return feature.attributes buttes. Oh, come on. The object ID field. And let me just double check. Actually, I don't know. It should be object ID. All right, so we're going to grab the object ID here, and we're going to go ahead and await edit layer dot apply, oops, dot apply edits, and we're going to go ahead and pass the object delete features, and that is going to be the OIDs, like so. Bam. So we're also going to go ahead and delete features from the edit layer, because we might want to go back and do some more edits at this point, right? So I have to empty my edit layer, probably have to update the client-side static data to match whatever is in my source data now, because I've done some edits and so on and so forth. You can see it gets really tricky, right? So again, this is something that I'm not recommending you do. I'm just saying it's something you could do. It's kind of fun to play with. You kind of learn a lot about the ins and outs of editing, applying edits, and all that really cool stuff. So yeah, I mean, if it's something that you're interested in, give it a shot. Like I said, not necessarily recommended, but I did want to show it because I get asked about this kind of question a lot. So if you're up for the challenge, be my guest. Thanks.